Okay, all right, I'll check it out. I just checked my phone, I had it on vibrate, on silent, and I forgot to check, and I just.
Good evening, welcome to Stafford City Council, Monday, June 12th. Roll call, I think we've got one out, and our pledge of allegiance is going to be offered by our Vice Mayor Ortega, followed by the invocation by Councilman Anazola. Would you stand for both, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together this evening, Lord, as we have this meeting and we do the best for our citizens of this community, Lord. We also pray for our employees, our department heads. We pray for our city manager, our city clerk, and we pray for all these gentlemen up here on the diocese tonight, Lord, as we make decisions for this great community that we live in. We ask you for the special blessing upon our mayor, Lord, that you give him the wisdom and the guidance that he needs, Lord, and the strength and the perseverance. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Councilman. Bring us to item 5, which is citizen comments on agenda items. I do have one. Tom Sanders, would you like to discuss now, or do you want to wait and hear what we have from our city attorney? Okay, come on up, please, and go ahead and give us your name and your address, please, and so we can enter it into record.
My name is Tom Sanders. I live at 416 East Yucca Drive in Safford. Mr. Mayor and Councilman, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I came here originally in support of the applications for bingo licenses for Foreign Angels and for the American Legion Riders. It was brought to my attention that those items have been tabled. Will you guys look into whether or not bingo machines are permissible? So I wanted to give a little bit of information that I have, because I want to make sure you guys have the full picture when you look into them. They are bingo machines, and there has been controversy in the past whether they're legal or not. They've been seized from establishments in the past, and they've been returned. Most recently, Judge John Hanna in Maricopa County ruled that they are not illegal gaming devices. He ordered the state to return the machines, to return all the money that they had seized, and as well as to reimburse the company for attorney's fees. I also was able to obtain a copy of a report from BMM, which is a company that was contracted by the Department of Gaming to do a forensic test on the machines. And if I could quote from just a section of that report. It mentions in here that they are, the investigation found that they're Class 2 bingo machines, and concludes that it was conducted in accordance with the requirements of the jurisdiction and that the gaming product meets the requirements of its laws and the regulations adopted therein, or thereunder, excuse me. I also reached out to Senate Majority Leader Sonny Borelli's office. He was instrumental in drafting the most recent updates to bingo legislation. And his office asked me to encourage the council and the city manager to reach out to his office because, you know, he agrees with what I'm saying to you about the machines. I also wanted to point out to the council that these have been embraced by communities all over the state. You can look up Win-Win Bingo Casino in Lake Havasu, or the Oriental Saloon in Tombstone. Those are two organizations that have worked with nonprofits. I have my own nonprofit. Some of you may or may not know, for years I've worked with Judge Peterson with Drug Court and Wellness Court, and those participants and probationers. And there's a real lack of funding for filling in the gaps for helping these people out. And the revenue from these will go to help those people. I've already talked to the judge in probation about referring more people over to me. You know, $50 or $100 can be life-changing for people. And I've exhausted myself applying for grants. So like the meme says, modern problems require modern solutions. So I'm just trying to play by the same rules everyone else has. The machines are in lots of fraternal and veteran organizations around the state, and they've been really beneficial to them. And I would be happy to sit down with anybody and go into more depth about our plans for the funds and to reassure and to show where we can prove that the money will be staying in Graham County and benefiting Graham County citizens. Part of the reason I started my own 501c3 is I hate the way that charities abuse money. So I intend to be ridiculously transparent with the money, including putting up signs showing where the funds have gone. You know, in Lake Havasu, they're funding organizations like United Way, Meals on Wheels, the Senior Center down there. And I just really want to try to do some good in the community, and this is a legal way to do that. And I understand that it may be strange to people that don't understand it, and there may be some concerns, but everything's above board. And like I said, I just want to be held at the same standard as everyone else. So, thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. That brings us to citizen comments on non-agenda items. We'll start with Mr. Bryce.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Mayor, it's especially good to see you here today. It's been a while. My name is Rex Bryce. My home address is 3424 First Street in Thatcher, but I'm here today to talk to you about a community project that the City of Safford has generously supported in the past. You may recall that about a year ago, I was here to talk to you about the Feed My Starving Children service organization. In commemoration with 9/11, every year there's a National Day of Service. And in conjunction with that last year, we held a community-wide event to bring attention not only to the airport and to provide an opportunity for members of our community and outlying areas to have exposure to what we have locally at the airport, but we also came together as an entire community. And in 2 days, we put together over 100,000 meals for Feed My Starving Children. It was such a success, and those of you who participated, I think you'll agree that it was something that was wonderful for our community and maybe better than a sports league even, maybe even better than anything we'd done since COVID. Well, it was such a success last year that there's a huge demand to do it again this year. Our goal this year is to increase our numbers from 108,000 meals that we did last year to doing over 160,000 meals over 2 days this year. And we plan to do that in 5 sessions on September 8th and 9th. And I hope that you'll all participate. And if you have participated before, you know what it feels like. If you haven't, please come. It's an amazing experience. What I'm here for tonight is to solicit the support of the city for this community development project as we bring attention to the airport. Some of you may know that I own Ponderosa Aviation at the airport, and we're putting our money where our mouth is as far as trying to develop the airport. You may be aware that we are currently in talks with the city to add buildings across the street from the airport that the city has wanted to do for many years. We now have a solid plan going forward. Tonight's not the night to talk about it, but it's great to see things happening, and things are happening. So we have asked each of our major sponsors last year to provide a sponsorship for this community event of $2,500. We're doing exactly the same thing this year. The only difference is we're increasing our number of sponsors. So I don't have any ties to it more than anybody else, other than I volunteered to lead organizing the sponsorship. This organization is a non-denominational Christian organization that I have no affiliation with other than in this capacity that I'm standing before you tonight. The goal is to raise $48,000 for this project. We're already well underway. Myself also as a major sponsor and many others in our community, for which we're very grateful. So I wanted to bring that to your attention again tonight. I hope the council will consider that, consider supporting that event, not only on behalf of the city, but I hope you'll support it personally by coming and participating. It's a wonderful event. Appreciate your time, and if you have any questions or want to put it on an agenda for another night, I'd be glad to be here to answer questions. Thank you.
Mr. Bryce, thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. Bring us to our next non-agenda item. Is it Aaron? Go ahead and your name and your address, please.
Sure, absolutely. Good evening. Thanks so much for inviting me to speak. My name is Dr. Erin Carr-Jordan. My address is 873 East Gemini Place in Chandler, Arizona. I am the CEO of an organization called the Digital Equity Institute. I'm here because I am helping the state of Arizona and the Commerce Authority with planning as it relates to the infrastructure, the Internet for All program. So the IIJA mechanism that I'm sure most people have heard of, it is the mechanism that's about to bring around $1 billion into the state of Arizona. So the broadband office has hired my team, and we are working in collaboration with folks and traveling around the state doing a series of listening sessions. The listening sessions are designed to help us understand access and use of the internet, as well as access and use of devices, support systems, skills, workforce development, education, healthcare, telehealth, all of those things. We held a listening session earlier today here in the library. And we are in the middle of conducting a survey to get as many people to provide us feedback as we absolutely can. The goal is that we collect enough insights and data that will inform the plan to ensure that communities, counties, cities, municipalities feel like their residents are represented and that the plan is reflective and responsive to the needs of actual people. So my reason for coming tonight is to ask for you to participate, to share widely with members of the community, with anchor organizations. There's 22 different kinds as defined by the state and by NTIA. That includes everyone from museums, libraries, local government, but I think more importantly, if we can understand what people in the community say that they need and what the state of play is as it relates to access to the internet, high-speed, reliable internet, that will help us to write a plan that is responsive to the needs of Graham County. So I have flyers that are available. I'm also more than happy to share digital versions that have QR codes and links to the survey itself. And I will happily answer any questions that anyone on the committee or in the audience tonight have.
Okay. Aaron, since it's a non-agenda item, we can't have dialogue, but I appreciate it. Thank you. That brings us to item 7, which is our public hearing. Are we going to do, at this time, do I want to ask Bill to pipe in on our public hearing, or do we want to just open up the public hearing and then go into our new and old business?
Let's let the attorney, the discussions, Mayor, members of council, we discussed deferring this item to gather additional information. We had a gentleman speak that he has some additional information. So I talked with the city attorney and about the easiest way to do this, which would be to use a continuance. So I'm going to let him describe that to you and the reasons that we use it.
Okay, Bill, are you online?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We're not trying to do Zoom. We're just going to go back to the old-fashioned teleconference, and you will figure out the Zoom later. The gentleman who spoke at the beginning of the meeting really was quite accurate in describing to you the state of play. He acknowledged that whether or not the kinds of equipment that are being proposed are legal is questionable. He indicated, however, that apparently Judge Hanna has ruled that they are permitted. And so the statute and the Arizona Department of Gambling is clear. It says you can only use equipment that function as electronic substitute for bingo cards. And the Department of Gaming goes on to say is it's okay as long as there are people in the room and balls are dropped and they're using the equipment to in effect track their numbers. If that's what's being proposed, then perhaps it's permissible. But the fact that this has been litigated, the fact that it's gone to Judge Hanna, the fact that some jurisdictions have questioned it, whether or not the devices are acceptable, and frankly, Mr. Mayor, I haven't seen what's being proposed. What I propose is that we continue this to a date certain, so that all the notices that occurred for this hearing are applicable to the new hearing. And then I think we get the information from the gentleman who spoke at the beginning, and then I can sit down with the manager and the clerk, and I can make a recommendation for you. All I'm trying to do is follow the statute, and the statute is clear that you may use equipment, leaving aside for disabled people. You can use equipment if only they substitute as bingo cards. And I just need to take a look at the equipment that's being proposed to see if it meets that statutory definition. I'm not saying it does or doesn't. I'm saying, and I think the gentleman at the top of the meeting indicated that there have been decisions on both sides. Let's get all the facts on the table, and I'll make a recommendation.
Okay, so at this...
So the action, Mr. Mayor, would be to continue the two hearings and the action to a date and time certain that I think the manager can help you with.
Okay,
That would be the next meeting on June 26th. So
Okay.
by doing the continuance, we can bring all the material back without the requirement that we re-notice it in the paper. So we just bring the material back once we've been able to do that work. So it would be June 26th, we would revisit this.
Do we need a motion on that?
Well, are we in a hearing
we're in
now?
the public
Yes.
hearing right
Yes.
now.
No, we should be in a public hearing.
No, you're not in the hearing, you're not in the hearing, but you do need a motion to continue, don't table, to continue the two hearings and to continue action on the consideration of the two applications. That would be the motion.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
Is it clear we can do it this way?
Go ahead. So,
Because we,
Yes, sir, it is, it is.
so if somebody had anything else to say again on this, they wouldn't have the chance to now.
Mayor, Councilman Lopez, we would pursue the entirety of this process on June 26th. We would have a public hearing, and then we would consider the items.
And that's when a
Yes.
public citizen could have some more say if wanted,
Correct.
With discussion.
with
Yep.
discussion.
Right, so we'll do it in its entirety.
Very good point, whoever said with discussion. That's what we need to do. We need to get all the facts on the table and let the public talk to you and let you talk to the public and reach a good conclusion.
Because I didn't want to stop if there was any more to be said and wanted to make sure we were following the rules of the meeting. So,
Yes, sir, you are.
okay, Mayor.
Was that motion enough then? For June 26th?
And it was seconded, I believe.
yeah. So we have a motion on the floor to bring this back on the 26th. And at that time, there will be a public hearing,
Yes, sir.
and there'll be more discussion.
Yep.
And we'll take some legal advice from our attorney and then hear as far as the public hearing and the discussion and vote on it.
Correct. 'Cause
At
there's
that
a
time
few
on
questions
the
that we want to
26th.
have answered so that you guys can make an informed decision.
Okay, so, and we have, that motion and the second was by Councilman Anazola. Is that?
Yes,
you
that
heard
is.
that? That sounds right, Vice Mayor?
Right.
Okay, any more discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes on that. Okay, so that brings us to item 9. We already did that, right? Do you want to go on with item 9.1, which is the applications? Do we want to read those in?
No, I think we would go directly, Mayor, to item
The minutes?
9-3.
Okay. And so item 9.3, which is request the mayor and council for review of the council minutes for May 22nd. B, do you have anything else on that? No?
I'll move we,
For approval for the minutes from last week.
I'll move we approve the minutes for May 22nd.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion?
Just a quick comment that it's pretty impressive that we're approving last meeting's minutes at this meeting.
Exactly.
It was a personal goal of mine to just stay on top of them, so
Thank you.
that's how I expect to stay.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 10, Resolution 2313, setting the property tax and levy. That will be staff, Kenan? Did I say it right?
Keenan.
Keenan, sorry.
Got it? Okay, thank you. Get mine back up. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm here to read Resolution R23-013, setting property tax levy. Purpose, this is a request for the mayor and city council to adopt Resolution R23-013, setting the levy for taxes at .5135 for each $100 assessed valuation of property subject to taxation within the city of Safford for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Give you a little background. A public hearing was held on May 22nd, 2023, 6 p.m. the purpose of hearing taxpayers on the budget and tax levy for fiscal year 2024. The public hearing also included a truth in taxation hearing as required by state statutes. The primary property tax rate will remain the same as fiscal year 2022, 2023 at 0.5135 per $100 of assessed valuation for fiscal year 23-24. Then we'll move on to resolution 14.
We'll need a motion to approve resolution 23-013.
I'll move we approve resolution R 23-013, setting the property tax levy.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
You have
Yes.
one over here.
Just wanted to make clear and for the record, we did not raise the rate. We are receiving more funds because the value went up, and that's the only reason we are taking in more monies. We did not raise the rate.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman McGoy?
He seconded.
He seconded, okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And do this is with the tax levy, I do need a roll call vote for the audio, so
Okay.
all those in
Councilman-
favor?
All those, you want it by
I need a
individual?
roll call vote for,
Councilman Lopez?
Yes,
Councilman Anazola?
Yes.
Councilman Hempill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Take it. Councilman McGoy?
Yes.
And Mayor's yes.
thank you.
You want to read it in?
Yes. Approval of resolution R 23-013, a resolution of mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, making levy for taxes for all purposes for the fiscal year ending in June 2024.
Okay, thank you. Brings us to item 10.2, resolution 2314. Keenan, it's you as well?
Yes, resolution R 23-014, designation of chief fiscal officer for FY 2023. This is a request for the mayor and city council to adopt resolution R 23-014, designating Keenan Lazenby as chief fiscal officer of the city of Safford for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Little background here, Arizona Revised Statutes 41-1279.07E requires each county, city, town, and community college district to annually provide to the Arizona Auditor General by July 31 the name of the Chief Fiscal Officer, CFO. The governing body has designated to officially submit the current year's annual expenditure limitation report on the governing body's behalf. This allows the current fiscal officer to submit the city of Safford's FY 2023 AELR in compliance with state statutes.
I'll move that we approve resolution R 23-014. It's the designation of the chief fiscal officer for 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for resolution 2314. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do you want a roll call?
Not on this
Not on
one.
this one. Will you go
But I
ahead
do
and
have to read it in.
Will you go ahead and read in resolution 2314?
Approval of resolution number R 23-014, a resolution of the city of Safford, Arizona, mayor and common council designating the chief fiscal officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2023 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General.
Okay. Item 10.3, resolution 2315. Keenan, that's you as well.
Yes, resolution 23-015, designation of chief fiscal officer for FY 2024. The purpose and recommended action. This is a request for the mayor and city council to adopt resolution R 23-015, designating Keenan Lazenby as Chief Fiscal Officer of the City of Safford for a fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Little background, Arizona Revised Statute 41-1279.07E requires each county, city, town, and community college district to annually provide to the Arizona Auditor General by July 31 the name of the Chief Fiscal Officer the governing body has designated to officially submit the current year's annual expenditure limitation report, AELR, parenthetically, on the governing body's behalf. This allows the current finance officer to submit the City of Safford's FY 2024 AELR in compliance with state statutes.
I move we approve resolution R 23-015, the designation of chief fiscal officer for fiscal year 2024.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2315, designation of chief financial officer for 2024. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Mr. Lazenby, these are just mainly housekeeping resolutions that we're gonna be needing you to be responsible for now, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure and get it into the record. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead.
Approval of resolution number R 23-015, a resolution of the City of Safford, Arizona, Mayor and Common Council designating the Chief Fiscal Officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2024 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ken, appreciate it. Resolution 2316,
Thank you, sir.
facility naming policy. Huh?
I said thank you.
That's, John, that's you?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Staff is seeking council approval of resolution R 23-016, establishing an official naming policy for the City of Safford. This policy would apply to public facilities and other physical locations and assets such as parks within the City of Safford. For the background, we recently, concerns were raised regarding this process. Staff, upon review, found that there was no official naming policy that the city currently had. As a result, we brought a draft policy to City Council on May 22nd for discussion during a work session. Comments were made. Those comments were incorporated into the document I'm bringing in this evening, and the document before you tonight is for adoption to put in place a naming policy for the City of Safford.
Entertain a motion?
I'll move we approve resolution R 23-016, facility naming policy.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution R 23-16, facility naming policy. Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead and read that one in, Dee.
Approval of resolution number R 23-016, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Safford, Arizona, approving and adopting an official naming policy for public facilities and places.
Okay, that brings us to item 10.5, resolution 2317, the acceptance and execution of an FAA bill grant for taxiway and signage project at Safford Regional Airport. That is Mr. Henry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and City Council to review and approve Resolution R 23-017, accepting a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Airport Infrastructure Grant Program to assist in funding construction for the Taxiway A signage project at the Safford Regional Airport and authorizing the city manager to execute this grant. A little background, the project includes construction and construction management and observation services for Taxiway A signage. This project's in the city's 5-year capital improvement program as well as the airport capital improvement program and is planned for FY '24, project number 425-158, CIP number AP2204. Taxiway A signage will consist of replacing existing guidance signs with LED light kits and relocating guidance signs and replacing panels as necessary on Taxiway A and B, to change the name to Taxiway A the entire length of the runway. The original guidance signs have surpassed their design life. I have a summary table there that summarizes what we budgeted for the grant, as well as our grant amount was a little bit more than what we budgeted. And staff is recommending accepting the grant funding from FAA for taxiway signage project at the Safford Regional Airport and provide a local match of up to $14,915, which has been budgeted in the FY24 CIP budget. Any questions on that?
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on resolution R2317, the acceptance and execution of an FAA bill grant for taxiway signage project at the regional airport. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead and read that one, Envy.
Approval of resolution number R23-017, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to execute a grant for federal funds from the Federal Aviation Administration for the purpose of aiding and funding a project for construction of taxiway A signage at the Safford Regional Airport.
Okay, thank you. That brings us resolution 2318, the acceptance and execution of FAA grant for a runway 12-30 lighting and signage project at Safford Regional Airport. Lance?
Yes, Mayor. This is a request for the mayor and city council to review and approve resolution R23-018, accepting a grant from the FAA through the Airport Infrastructure Grant Program to assist in funding the construction for runway 1230 lighting and signage project at the Safford Regional Airport and authorizing the city manager to execute this grant. This project includes construction and construction management and observation services for runway 1230 lighting and signage. This project's in the 5-year CIP as well as the ASIP and is planned for FY24, project number 423-158, CIP number AP2202. Runway 1230 lighting and signage will consist of replacing existing runway edge lights with LED fixtures, install electrical conduit with new wiring, and guidance signs with LED light kits. The original lights and guidance signs have surpassed their design life. I do have a summary table there of our budget versus what the actual grant amount was, and our budget was much more than the actual grant amount, and that's due to our original budgeted amount was based on us assuming that there was no conduit in the ground out there, and there is some conduit, so that we had some cost savings when we actually bid the project. So staff's recommending accepting of the grant from the FAA for runway 1230 lighting and signage at the Safford Regional Airport and provide the local match of up to $25,858, which has been budgeted in FY24 CIP budget. Any questions?
Entertain a motion.
I'll move we approve resolution R23-018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2318, the acceptance and execution of FAA grant for the runway 1230 lighting and signage project at Safford Regional Airport. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead and read that.
Approval of resolution number
Thank you, Lance.
R23-018, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to execute a grant for federal funds from the Federal Aviation Administration for the purpose of aiding and funding a project for construction of runway 12-30 lighting and signage at the Safford Regional Airport.
Okay, great. It brings us to item 11.1, ordinance 23-008, fireworks code. Jamie, you're raining on our parade already.
No, I'm making it better. Good
Okay.
evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for a first reading of ordinance O23-008, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, amending Title IX, Chapter 9.16, Weapons and Explosives, Section 9.16.020, fireworks, to update the City of Safford Municipal Code to comply with Arizona Revised Statute, Chapter 13, Article 1, Sections 36-1601 through 36-1610. Background: the City of Safford regulates the use and sale of fireworks within the city limits. The state of Arizona has made changes to the regulations that municipalities may have in place. This is just to update and streamline our code with the state of Arizona. The use of fireworks was previously prohibited within the City of Safford except for the use of novelty items in public displays. The updated version of the regulations allows the use of fireworks only during specified times of the year. The definitions in the City of Safford Code will also be updated to align with the state of Arizona. The regulations may be altered to be less restrictive if the council chooses to do so. This update has been reviewed by the fire chief and the city attorney. With that, I'll stand for questions on the update. You have the Arizona statute, our current code, and proposed code in your packet.
Okay, we just want to say good job for catching this, and
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor, go ahead.
I'll move we approve ordinance, that's
It's just the first reading, Vice Mayor.
sorry.
Okay, we have our first reading of the ordinance 23-008 fireworks code. So this is our first reading. Do you need to read it in? Go ahead.
This concludes a first reading of ordinance number 023-008, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, amending Title 9, Chapter 9.16, Weapons and Explosives, Section 9.16.020, Fireworks, to update the City of Safford Municipal Code to comply with Arizona Revised Statutes, Chapter 13, Article 1, Sections 36-1601 through 36-1610.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Lopez, do you have any questions on any of that?
Are we gonna be able to train some of the citizens in the community also on some of these that are taking place? Some of the requirements for training? Or is it all gonna be government, our employees that are being trained?
Mayor, Councilman Lopez, the trainings that we have discussed deal with actually having the event, and we were able to find out that we do have firefighters that are trained for that. The ordinance itself does not regulate us providing any training for citizens that are lighting off fireworks, but it does regulate, I believe, the types that can be lit. So again, it clarifies those that citizens can use during certain times of the year. So training only applies to our firefighters, and that's associated with actual events.
Okay, sir, thank you.
All right. Brings us to item 11.2, ordinance 2307, municipal code 13.28 amendment. Mr. Seal?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and Council to discuss and approve the second reading of ordinance 23-007, an ordinance amending the City of Safford Municipal Code 13.28.010, general rules and regulations applicable to all classes of service. During the recodification process of the City of Safford Municipal Code in 2022, staff reviewed each of their sections to ensure accuracies to make any needed changes. Prior to the code revision, if a customer were to seek water service, the customer needed to meet requirements to deem water is available to the property. First, the property line shall abut the water main by 50 feet. This rule ensures that the City of Safford does not have excessive lengths of small diameter service lines to maintain. Second, the customer was required to build structures within 100 feet of the meter box. This rule was viewed as very restrictive when considering that the Safford Water serves areas that have potential of having properties larger than 1 acre. Through the process of the recodification, the 50-foot abutment rule remained, and the distance from the water meter to the structure was removed. Since the code revision in 2022, we've seen what negative impact this can have by not limiting the distance from the meter to the structure when referring to future development and cost sharing. Since the code has changed, we've seen several lot splits that result in odd-shaped parcels and upwards to 1,000 feet of private lines being installed. When considering the future development, property owners who have large lots that abut the main with no limitation of distance from the meter have the ability to split the lot into several pieces and serve each lot at one central location on the water main. This action, although it benefits the closest property owner, will increase the burden on the surrounding property owners by requiring them to extend the water main further than needed if property owners were to share the cost burdened by being required to extend the main closer to the structure being served. The city would like to implement a reasonable distance, keeping in mind larger lots and having the ability to build a structure away from the property line. The amendment to the code would require the owner to build a structure within 300 feet of the water meter, and also give the city the ability to review any requested services that exceed 300 feet to be approved or denied based on the surrounding area's potential for development. It is recommended that mayor and council approve ordinance 023-007 to give the city the ability to assist the water system to develop for future growth. With this, I included 2 examples. If you were to look up at the screen, you have Exhibit A. Exhibit A would be viewed as inappropriate. As you can tell, there's a water main that runs along this road. Property owner A had the ability to split their lots and create these 2 odd-shaped parcels and to serve these parcels by not having any type of limitation. Now, property owner B had reached out to us. They are running on a well and they would like services from the city of Safford. However, now that property owner B has to extend the main all the way across property owner A's, it becomes unfeasible for property owner B. If property owner A was required to extend that main to reach the 50-foot minimum requirement and 300 feet, then that would be more feasible for property owner B to extend that, and then they could have services as well. If any other location west of this spot wanted to develop, they would then have to bring the main all the way from across property owner A's property and get it to their property in order to build. Exhibit B shows an example that we would deem appropriate. So this property owner, the water main runs along the main road. They have a long, narrow section, and they wanted to build their house in the middle of a cotton field. Well, that section, the house is about 700 feet away. This is viewed as appropriate because there is no potential future development in the near future to the south, and there's no potential split of their property. So at this time, we would view that as appropriate and allow that to happen. There's another example that I would like to use and bring up. This is up at the branding iron area. So our water main runs on top of the mesa at the branding iron and serves the branding iron and all the surrounding homes that you see. Now in the top right corner, you can see that there's 5 parcels that are split into odd-shaped parcels, slag-shaped. So this is also another example that we would deem appropriate because in this area, it's very limited hydraulically, and it's pushing the boundaries, or there isn't a lot of potential growth within this mesa area. There's also property to the north and to the east that is state land, state trust land. So the potential of development in that area is limited. So we would view this as appropriate. We would allow the customer to have these odd-shaped parcels and serve at one central location. If the property to the north and the east were developable, at that point we would reconsider when they applied for the services, and we would work with them and let them know that a main extension would be required.
Morgan, didn't we just add a water line in, headed to the landfill?
So,
Because
Mayor
it's got
Council.
the landfill road right there on the right.
Correct. Mayor, Council, there is a water line that is getting in here as we have time. There's a 6-inch that we're going to take all the way up to the scale house. At that point, there's really not a lot of service that can be done off of that other than the scale house, because this is state trust land. And so right now it's just going to be serving the scale house and then also supplying a hydrant. The hydrant would be a low flow hydrant, but it would be better than not having one up there.
So it's a 6-inch line,
Correct.
and so if you scroll back down, you got those 5 properties that are there. Would it make sense? What is at the top of Branding Iron Hill right now? What size line is that? 4? Or is that a
No,
6?
off the top of my head, I want to say that's an 8-inch
It's an
line, I
8?
believe.
So would it make sense to branch that 6-inch into that 8?
So
Or is that too
if,
far of a distance?
right here, there's a lot of challenges. There's a ravine, a wash that you'd have to go down and up, and it would just complicate the hydraulics of it. And I don't think there would be any added benefit by looping those 2 in.
Okay, so those houses there, do they all have water taps now? Or you're saying that you'd deem it necessary, you'd deem it okay to tap into one line and feed those lots.
The Mayor, Council, all those homes that you see right now are fed from City of Safford, the City of Safford water system.
So what about
Each-
those undeveloped properties though? You
Those
got
5
1, 2, 3.
parcels
Yeah.
that you see there, they've already applied and we served them, we gave them meters. They paid for meters and we installed them out there.
And so between that and the hydrant that's located up there, there's enough flow for all of that to be serviced right then, correct?
Correct.
There's no hydrant up there anymore.
There's no hydrant up there?
So there's a flush hydrant right now. And that's by the branding iron, and that'd be low flow.
But the fire hydrant was taken out though, right?
I believe we did remove that and put like a flush, more of a flush hydrant up there. I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
There a motion for ordinance 23-7?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 23-07 municipal code 13.28.10 amendment. As Morgan stated out for us, y'all had a chance to look at it. Any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We go ahead and read that, MD.
Approval of ordinance number 023-007, an ordinance of the City of Safford pertaining to utilities and amending section 13.28.010 of Title 13 of the City of Safford Municipal Code.
Okay, item 12.1, contracts, agreements, and bids. Lance, you're back up. for
Yes, Mayor,
more
this
airport stuff.
this is a request for the mayor and city council to award a construction contract to Rural Electric from Mesa, Arizona for the taxiway A signage project at the Safford Regional Airport, project number 425-158, CIP number AP2204. The project is funded by the FAA through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, AIG program, up to a maximum reimbursement amount of $303,820. The background I covered in the resolution is what this project consists of. This project was advertised and bidders solicited in accordance with ARS formal bidding procedures. A notice of invitation to bid was published in the local newspaper. A non-mandatory pre-bid was held on March 29th, 2023, and was attended by one prospective bidder. On April 12th, 2023, the city clerk received 3 bids that were publicly read, with Rural Electric being the low bidder. There's the results of our bid in the CCF as well. Taxiway signage is in the CIP, as I mentioned before, as well as the ASIP program and plan for FY24. Funding for the expense over budget for taxiway A will be provided by surplus budgeted funds from runway 1230 lighting and signage project, which I'll also be presenting this meeting. So I've kind of got a summary project recap there of what was budgeted of $300,000. This taxiway construction contract is for $209,000 of that. It's got the total project expenses there. So therefore, staff is recommending, staff and CNS companies, our consultant has found that the lowest bid submitted by Rural Electric is the lowest responsive bidder and is qualified to complete the work as specified in the project. Therefore, we're recommending the contract award of construction of taxiway A signage project to Rural Electric in the amount of $209,039.65, and allow the city manager or his designee to execute contract change orders not to exceed 10% of the construction contract value, if in the best interest of the city to do so. And answer any questions you may have.
I'll move we approve taxiway A signage project award contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item 12.2 is a request for mayor and council to award a construction contract to Pavex Corp. from Tucson, Arizona for the runway 1230 lighting and signage project at the Safford Regional Airport, project number 423-158, CIP number AP2202. This project is also funded by the FAA through the Airport Infrastructure Grant Program, up to a maximum reimbursement amount of $526,747. The project description I covered already. In the resolution, the project was advertised and bidders solicited in accordance with ARS formal bidding procedures. A notice for invitation to bid was published in the local newspaper. The non-mandatory pre-build meeting was held on March 29th, 2023, and was attended by one prospective bidder. On April 12th, 2023, the city clerk received 3 bids that were publicly read with the following results, and Pavex Corp. Was our low bidder as well on that one. The Runway 1230 lighting and signage project is in our 5-year CIP, as well as in the ACIP program and plan for FY24. Surplus budgeted funds from this 1230 lighting and signage project will also help fund taxiway A signage, as I mentioned before, for any over budgeted expenses. And I've got a summary of the project recap there with total expenditures, and this would be the award of the 1230 construction contract for $384,872. Staff is recommending, staff and CNS has found that the lowest submitted bid by Pavex Corp. Is the lowest responsive bidder and qualified to complete the work as specified for this project. Therefore, staff is recommending the contract award for the construction of Runway 1230 lighting and signage project to Pavex Corp. In the amount of $384,782, and allow the city manager or his designee to execute contract change orders not to exceed 10% of the construction contract value, if in the best interest of the city to do so. And answer any questions you may have on that one.
I'll move we approve Runway 12-30 lighting and signage project.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, you're gonna get tired of me talking about Runway 1230 and Taxiway A, but this is for the construction management and observation services, and authorize the city manager to accept CNS Engineers' proposal to complete those services in the amount of $120,409.32 for the Taxiway A signage project at the Safford Regional Airport. As I mentioned before, this is an FAA-funded project for a total reimbursement amount of $303,820, with an additional share from ADOT and the City of Safford, $14,915, totaling $333,649 for construction, which would include these services as provided in their proposal. CNS is our city's on-call airport planning and engineering services provider and has provided a fee proposal for this project. The FAA and the state also require an independent fee estimate from a third party for consulting contracts over $100,000. So therefore, the city commissioned an IFE, or independent fee estimate, from the Adams companies for the construction management and observation services for the Taxiway A signage project. This firm determined that these services for the project, based on the scope of work, would be $124,784. So there's about a 3% difference between the IFE and what CNS's fee was proposed to us. I've got a table there that summarizes the project recap again, with a highlighted contract for $129,409.32 to CNS. The consultant fees for the construction management and observation services for this airport improvement project will be paid using federal funds as shown on the table that are provided. This project's in the CIP as well as the ACIP and is planned for FY24. Funding for the expenses over budget for taxiway will be provided by the Runway 1230 lighting and signage project. We are recommending the award of this construction management and observation services to CNS Engineers in the amount of $120,409.32 for the Taxiway A signage project at the Safford Regional Airport. Any questions?
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
discussion?
I'm just glad to see the year 2022 getting done, and it doesn't have something like 2020 on it. So we're getting the CIP off, these projects off our back. It's good to see.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, last one. It's a request for mayor and council to authorize the city manager to accept CNS Engineers' proposal to complete the construction management and observation services in the amount of $185,980.40 for the Runway 1230 lighting and signage project at the Safford Regional Airport. As I mentioned a couple times, this is funded by the FAA through their AIG program, a maximum reimbursement amount of $526,747, with ADOT and the city sharing $25,858 each, for a total of $578,462 for construction, which also includes these construction management services. CNS is our on-call planner. As I mentioned before, we have to do an IFE, independent fee estimate, for anything over $100,000. The Adams Company came back with a project scope of work of roughly $178,000 was their estimate, which was about 9% different than what CNS provided. We have to stay within 10% according to FAA and the state. If anything above 10% plus or minus, they make you renegotiate or adjust your scope of work. I've got a summary table for the budget, which has that this contract for CNS highlighted there. The consultant's fees and observation services for construction management observation services for this project would be paid for using federal funds. This is a budgeted project in the CIP as well as the ASIP, and any surplus funds from this project help fund the taxiway A signage budget, or over budgeted expenses. So we're recommending the contract award for construction management and observation services to CNS Engineers in the amount of $185,980.40 for the runway 1230 lighting and signage project at the Safford Regional Airport.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Brings us to item 12.5. Gabe?
Thanks, Mayor and Council. This is a request to authorize a bid award and enter into a contract for the construction of the retention wall at the landfill with Ron Cox Builders. A little bit of background, this is going to be the basis for our transfer station up at the landfill. This will generate and create 4 different locations for the public to transfer their waste that's generated. It'll greatly increase the safety between landfill users as well as our city employees that are working up there. This is for the construction of a 152-foot linear feet of a 10-foot vertical wall. That includes a 40-foot wing wall section on it as well. A little bit of background or a little bit of analysis on this. This project's being funded from landfill enterprise funds. We did have a bid opening on May 25th, and a total of 3 bids were received. The lowest being Ron Cox Builders in the amount of $163,394. We had a 2022-2023 budget of $150,000, and we're proposing the slight overage of $13,000 come from the landfill revenues, or from their reserves. Staff recommends Mayor and Council to approve the bid award and then enter into contract with Ron Cox Builders in the amount of $163,394. The funding to cover the overages from this project coming from the landfill fund contingencies is recommended to allow the city manager or his designee authority to execute contract change orders not to exceed 10% of the contracted value if in the best interest of the city to do so. With that, I'd answer any questions you guys may have.
We've used Ron Cox Builders before on certain jobs. haven't we?
I can't personally know since I've been here, but Lance is nodding his head, yeah, so.
Yeah, we have.
County uses them quite a bit.
Okay. Then I'll move we approve the bid award to Ron Cox.
Second?
We have a motion and second to approve the bid award for the landfill transfer site to Ron Cox Builders for the amount of $163,394. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Announcement of current events?
Mayor?
Yes.
At this time, I'd definitely like to thank Lance and all his workers that finished the entrance to the cemetery. It's an outstanding job. If you haven't seen it, very proud of it. Good job, and thank you.
Mayor, I have something. In reference to the 4th of July, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want a truck or a fire truck in the parade?
I think you're gonna ramrod that.
Yeah, Steve, can we get a fire truck or? As long, Chief, can we get a fire truck? Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and take care of the rest, whatever else needs to be done for that, and, I'm just gonna need you guys' help, getting the fire truck done and all that, so,
Okay, anything else?
no.
Anybody else?
No, sir.
Request for future agenda items? Going quick. Item 15, report on operational items. John?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to give you a quick update because the process by which the actual 4th of July fireworks itself, not the parade, but the fireworks event that will occur this year is changing. I was approached by the Lions Club. They indicated they could no longer purchase the fireworks. I think part of that had to do with those who purchased them have to light them off, I guess was what I was told. So the city stepped in and we had a meeting with the county and also with the fire chief. And we're gonna take on the event ourselves. The monies will flow to us instead of flowing out. They will be funded essentially in the same way. There is some additional funding, I believe, that's gonna be coming from 2 donors. One is an increase, one is new. Also, in the future, when we purchase these fireworks, we're also gonna be purchasing those items that will be used to light them off. So we'll have those in our possession. We'll probably store them at the MIOC. And we also confirmed that our firefighters have the proper certifications to light the fireworks off. Councilman Lopez, I believe you're alluding to that somewhat earlier. So we do have firefighters who are properly certified to either light off or supervise those who will light off fireworks. And we also found out that there is the requirement that there be a rider for our insurance company to cover the event. I don't believe, as far as I know, that that has been done in the past. So we're stepping in, we talked to our provider, we'll be covering that. And of course, there are additional donations rolling in so that we won't really be taking on that full cost, but it probably will cost us an additional $1,000 as the city to carry on the event. My hope is in the future that since now the actual event is now in our court, that we may approach this somewhat differently. We'll see what those conversations look like. But rest assured, we will have 4th of July fireworks and they will be conducted appropriately. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed because that process by which that will occur will be different and we'll be taking more of a lead on that event as the city. So I wanted to give you that information.
Okay.
I'll move, we wait another half hour closer to our regular time to adjourn. Just kidding. I move we adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.